Let's talk about immigration. Show you this headline in the Daily Telegraph. Brexit was supposed to take back control of immigration. It hasn't. That's the claim from Nick Timothy, former advisor to Theresa May when she was Prime Minister. He claims that the new points-based system for immigration is designed to keep numbers high and that the government will be in trouble when the public realise this. We're joined by Alp Mehmet, who's chair of Migration Watch UK. Hello to you, Alp. What did taking back control, that famous phrase from the campaign, mean to you?
It meant that immigration was going to be controlled, immigration would actually be reduced as well, and that the government would introduce the policies that would do that. It's done no such thing.
And you say it's done no such thing. What are you basing your numbers and figures on?
Well, if you look at the points-based system, it actually loosened the whole immigration system for work permits, for example. It reduced and lowered the ceilings for earnings, for qualifications. It abandoned the requirement to look locally first. All in all, it just made it so much easier for employers to bring in cheaper labour from overseas, and indeed no control because there are no limits to the numbers that they can bring in.
Right. Well, let's just we'll keep you there, Alp, for the rest of the discussion. Matt, is this government still committed to bringing down overall levels of net migration, or was that never really its intention in the first place?
Well, yes, it is, but I think what the point for many people about Brexit was being able to have a system that was able to attract the brightest and the best from around the world, rather than simply looking to the EU. And whether that is about doctors, whether it is about shortage occupations, the whole point of having that points-based system is that you are able to increase more control into the system, regardless of the numbers. The numbers are almost a separate issue, but you do have more control in a points-based system than we did in the EU. And that's what taking back control, I think, was about on one level. Of course, numbers are a part of it, but they are
Well, hang on. Well, when you say numbers are a separate thing, what are you talking about? What did the government promise when you look at the figures? I mean, the latest estimates by the Office for National Statistics, net migration from overseas to the UK in the year ending March 2020 totaled 313,000, the highest in 4 years and approaching the all-time record. Are you saying that numbers don't matter?
No, I'm not saying that they don't matter at all, but I'm saying that they are a part of a broader equation.
Should the numbers come down or should they not?
So I think over time, yes, of course they should. But for instance, what I don't want to see is a large agricultural constituency like mine not being able to attract people to do work in agriculture. Longer term, I'd like to see more mechanisation. Likewise, in the health service and social care, this is about being able to design a system that best suits our needs, which we are indisputably now able to do in a way that we weren't when we were in the EU.
Alp, do you accept that numbers are just part of the broader picture?
Nonsense. Forgive me for saying so. Of course, numbers matter. It does matter how many people are coming into the country, how much they're adding to the population, the sort of needs that they have, be it housing, be it schooling, be it transport pressures, the NHS. Of course, numbers matter, for goodness sake. And to suggest otherwise, I think, is doing a disservice to the people who suffer the most as a result of high numbers and high net migration.
Do you think the government's going back then on what it promised?
Well, it never made any attempt to stick to the promise. Just moving on to from the time when Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, and he actually promised on TV, I think, dare I say, on Sky, not only would control be introduced, but numbers would come down as well. Nothing of the sort has happened. As for promising Indian nationals and better arrangements and more visas to come here, I just find that quite baffling, frankly. I really do, because already a number of Indian nationals coming here to work in IT, for example, is more than any other, or pretty much more than any other. And that's happened over the last couple of years.
Matt?
Well, I'm not sure who Alp was listening to when he thinks that I said that, that the numbers don't matter. I explicitly said the numbers do matter. But this is fundamentally about having the ability to control an immigration system that we have never had before. Now, I do think there will inevitably need to be some refinements. That's why we have things like the shortage occupation list. But it is two sides of the same coin, numbers and requirements.
Daisy?
The fact is the immigration system is completely broken and the Home Office and Priti Patel have completely failed. In my constituency of St Albans, I have pubs, restaurants and cafes and retail saying they do not have enough staff, so they can't stay open for the hours they want to. I have hospitals and care homes that do not have enough staff. They've got huge vacancies, and that means longer waiting lists for operations, and it means that patient safety is at risk. We need a proper system that allows us to recruit the people we need from abroad, whilst also putting in place the training systems we need in this country to train people up, and the government is failing on both counts.
Would you return to freedom of movement from the EU, for example?
Well, eventually, I think that we do need to have a new deal with the EU that looks at these issues. And I think further down the line, I think it would be a good thing to look at rejoining the single market. But right now, I think what we need is we need to actually break up the Home Office. We need to have a new department that can run an efficient process for business, because at the moment the immigration system is anti-business. And we need a new part of the Home Office that has a more humanitarian approach to people who are coming here as refugees, because it's clear to see that the Homes for Ukraine system is completely and utterly broken as well.
Do the numbers matter, the numbers of people coming into the UK?
Well, of course they matter in terms of, but it's about also the right numbers, that people filling the right skills, filling the right jobs. A points-based system always increases migration. All points-based systems around the world have always increased the numbers of migrants, because they're not actually, points-based is not needs-based. Points-based is, do you have a PhD tick? Not, do you have a PhD in the area that we wish it to be in? And so you have a PhD in, I don't know, kind of navel gazing.
But you fulfil
and you
the
fulfil the
requirements.
requirement and you get in. And that's why, actually, many of us in the Brexit debate said, if you go leave the European Union and have a points-based system, it won't reduce migrants at all. If you want to do that, you could have done it within the framework. But the basis of reducing migration is that you create deals with, first of all, countries that have a similar economic profile with you, because the migration is usually net equal. And then what you do is you reach out on areas of skills that you need. And then finally, you actually make sure you train more people up. It is a national disgrace that our NHS expects to import nurses from the poorest countries in the world. We should be exporting to them.
Alp?
Well, yeah, I agree with that latter point, but to suggest that 840,000 long-term visa grants in 2021 is actually attracting the best and the brightest is just, I'm afraid, something that I will not accept. The system, part of it is broken. Part of it also requires new legislation, possibly, and also some resources and commitment, political backing, so that the job can be done in the way that most people in this country would like to see. At the moment, that simply isn't happening.
But you have to accept a points-based system, which is what the country was sold and which has been delivered, was always going to increase migration. And if you want to reduce it, or if you want to make it more regularised, you have to have a quota-based system, and you have to have a system that is needs-based.
Sorry.
Well, go on.
Sorry, that was not how it was. That was not how it was sold. It wasn't going to increase migration.
Some of us said that.
The opposite was supposed to happen, which is what most people in this country want.
I think the
and
real
we
problem...
do need to train. We do need to train our own people. We haven't been doing that, particularly in the IT sector. We haven't been doing it, and not only have we not been doing that, but we just don't pay enough for those at the lower scale, at the lower end.
All right, then I might just get to Katie.
The real